Very quickly.
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Yes.
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President?
again with Russia.
Oh, that's so good. That line, that the 5 top CIA people, that line is so convincing and such a lie. The great Emma Jo Morris is here, Breitbart News political editor. She is the one who broke the Hunter Biden laptop story. Emma Jo was like, I bet there were a lot of surreal moments with this whole laptop thing, but that had to be one of them when you're watching the debate and they're talking about the thing you did.
Yeah. I mean, that whole time, like the time around the debate, that was, just days after we broke the story at the Post and hours after Tony Bobulinski came out, right ahead of that debate to say, hey, I'm revealing myself as one of Hunter's business partners in the CEFC China energy deal. And Hunter Biden was involving Joe Biden the entire time. And I met him as a colleague of Hunter's. It was just, God, that time was just, you'll never get it back.
Yeah, we'll see what's to come. Big picture, why does this story matter? I can see a lot of people saying, oh, there's more pressing things in the border, and obviously the border matters. All these other things matter too. But what's the significance of all of this?
Yeah, so there's 2 major elements of significance to this story. And I get this question a lot because sometimes it feels like, the rantings of a crazy person or the musings of somebody who has no problems. And I hear that criticism, but I completely disagree with it. And it's not just because I broke the story. The reason it matters is because, first of all, we're talking about a vast, corruption ring, basically, with this family where they have interests all over the world that are their personal interests. And the most basic role of the president, or really any lawmaker, any elected official, any member of government, is to advance the interests of the United States. We get caught up a lot of times in who's the good guy and who's the bad guy. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing that is relevant to a conversation about policy and politics other than interest and what is in the national interest of the country. So if you have a president who has his own interests that may clash, in this case, definitely do, because the business partners are the most corrupt countries that you can imagine in the world, and ones who are not friends of America, like China is the prime example. You have their interests, they have personal interests tied up in people who have opposing interests to the country that they represent. And then that ends up manifesting in bad policy for every American, that every American feels. For example, obviously this cannot be, I want to caveat what I'm about to say, that this cannot be directly necessarily linked to the Biden family business. But when gas prices were going up ahead of the midterm election, Joe Biden released strategic oil reserves of this country, and in order to, increase the flow of oil. And in that time, there was some oil that was sold to China while we were suffering, skyrocketing gas prices. And that was one of the most painful moments for the people of this country financially. And he's sending money, he's sending gas to China. What is that? Why did he do that? There's no logical reason for that to have happened. Again, I'm not saying that I have proof that this is because his son Hunter was in business. However, all I'm saying is we can't know because these people are corrupt, obviously. Now, the second reason this story is important, is because aside from what it revealed about the Biden family, it also revealed an insane conspiracy within the government to censor journalism. And it wasn't, I talked about this in Congress, actually. It wasn't because the reporting wasn't true, as Joe Biden lied about in that clip that you opened up in the cold open with. It's because the reporting was true, not because it was false. It was censored because it was inconvenient to the regime. And that, to me, is so, that gets to the bedrock principles of this country.
So that's the key line right there. It was censored because it was true, not because it was false. Now, of course, every time something's censored, we're told because it's misinformation or whatever. But what you released with the Hunter Biden story was
justified censoring it on was that it's misinformation. According to who? Spies? And the entire industry in journalism and communications, in the case of social media companies, just took that line and ran with it, didn't question it for 1 second. Slater, I don't know if you're aware of the role of a journalist, but it's actually to question people in power who are shrouded in secrecy. And if I could name maybe the one most powerful institution in America that is shrouded in complete secrecy, that would be our intelligence community and our spy agencies. And journalists just somehow decided that they take their word for it. Pretty amazing.
Okay, this is worth digging into again. So one reason I respect what you do so much is because I think you are, I don't know how many more there are, but like an actual journalist. And you don't fall for the appeal to authority, which is what Joe Biden just did right there. Because like that's why I said that's an effective line from Joe Biden. Like that's like one would fall for that. What was it? 50 top intelligence guys, the most recent 5 CIA leaders or whatever. Like that's quite an appeal to authority. That's quite the credible argument, if that is an argument that holds water.
Well, only if you, like Joe Biden, you've been in a freezer for the last 30 years. Because as far as I've been like alive and cogent, what have the intelligence community told us? The very credible authorities, what have they told us? They told us that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They told us that that Trump was in a conspiracy with Vladimir Putin to buy ads on Facebook in order to steal the 2016 election. And now they've told us, okay, now we're coming. And the Hunter Biden laptop was what? Concocted by me and Miranda Devine and Rupert Murdoch and Vladimir Putin in a dark room on 6th Avenue? Like, what are they even understood the claim?
We only got about a minute, Emma Joe. What do you, predictions, you're a journalist, not a predictor. So I won't ask you that. What would you suggest our course of action is moving forward in the next X number of months until the election when it comes to this?
I think the course of action is really just to I don't know how this goes for us, because the truth is we don't have subpoena power. This is in the hands of Congress at this point, and however Congress proceeds is how this goes. So, thank God the audience tends to be in conservative media and in alternative media really engaged in an activist audience. And I think that the way to go forward is to really pick up the phone, write a letter to your local representative, to your congressperson, and say, like, what happened in 2020 was not acceptable. In 2020 was not acceptable, was not okay. And we need to understand what went on there. We need to rectify the situation, that this is your job, to solve how it is that the intelligence community swung an election, in essence, for Joe Biden, and how to prevent that from happening again.
That's right.
And really demand that action, because these guys, they do investigations and they kind of hang their hat on that we sent out a flurry of letters. And it's like, no, we need a legislative solution to prevent this from ever happening again. The New York Post is the oldest paper in America. It was founded by Alexander Hamilton. The New York Post is the 4th largest circulated newspaper in America. This isn't some sketchy blog that this showed up in, and social media kind of was like, we're content moderating that because we can't trust. That's nuts. That shouldn't be allowed to happen.
Emma Jo Morse. When Emma Jo and I usually talk on our radio show, we talk for like a half an hour. So this was not nearly enough, but let's do it over on the radio some more.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, ma'am. Have an awesome day. Speaking of radio shows, someone called into the Sirius XM radio show on Patriot, and they said, I'll never forget this. I'll never forget the way he said it. I won't be able to simulate it. He said, Slater, I'm just, and as soon as he said justa, my alarm went off. So hold on. But he said, I'm just a political layman. And then he went on and he made a brilliant point. And I said, okay, first of all, great point. We'll get back to that in a second. But why did you just say you're a political layman? And he said, I'm not as smart, and I don't know as much as everyone here on Patriot, on SiriusXM Patriot. And same to be said for here on the First, of course. And I said, man, first of all, you are way smarter than 90% of this country. So don't sell yourself short. You are so far ahead of the game, you don't even know it. First of all, you're listening to political talk at 6 a.m, but even that, forget about the smarts, man. You have the wisdom. That's what people lack. Joe Biden is smart. Joe said Hunter's the smartest person he knows. They're smart, but they're not good. And they may be smart, but they're not wise. Proverbs 1. If you had to pick one proverb, just start with the first one. Wisdom cries aloud in the street. Oh, naive ones. How long will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing, someone who looks down on you? How long will fools hate knowledge? We're up against the naive, the scoffers, and the fools. You're not one of those. You have wisdom. All those values are written on your heart. You know right from wrong. You have instinct for liars and scoffers and fools. Follow that wisdom. Follow that instinct. Don't let these people get away with convincing you that you're just or less than, or don't know as much. That silences you. That's an effort to silence you. You know what's right and wrong. And it is up to us, because no one else is doing it. It's up to us to hold them accountable.